slope-intercept form. So we've learned how to graph in standard form. Now we're going to learn about slope-intercept form. And as I said before, you guys have learned this, okay? But we're going to treat it like you haven't learned it. So it's going to be a good refresher for you guys, okay? Now, before we can actually graph in slope-intercept form, we have to talk about what is slope, okay? Now, slope represents the steepness of your line, which should kind of make sense because if you're going like skiing, right? Don't they talk about the slope of the hill that you ski down? Yeah. So the slope is the steepness of my line. And if we're going downhill skiing, right? If you're going downhill, is that slope positive or negative? It's going to be negative. Now, if you're going up to get to the top of the hill to ski down, that's going to be a positive, right? So I always think of slope when you're looking at a line. Am I going up the roller coaster or am I going down the roller coaster or going up to the ski hill, down skiing? All right, think of it in that sense. Now, slope in this sense is always labeled with an N. Why? I don't know, but it's an N, okay? We just went ahead and started 3.5, okay? So slope is labeled as M of a non-vertical line. And again, if we have a vertical line, is a vertical line a function? Is a vertical line a function? So if I draw a vertical line, is that a function? No, because doesn't my x value repeat? Remember, this was x equaled like 2. And that means every point on that line, x is 2, isn't it? So is a vertical line a function? No. And so vertical lines actually do not have a slope. Okay? So that's why when it says non-vertical line, it's because vertical lines are not functions. They have no slope. Okay? That passes through 2 points. X1, comma Y1, and X2, comma Y2. And it doesn't matter which one's the ones or the twos. You just keep them together, okay? So there are 2 points because how many points do I need to make a line? How many points do I need to make a line? Just 2. It doesn't matter what 2. It's just any 2 points on a line, okay? Is the ratio of rise to run, which is rise is the change in y, and the run is the change in x. And I always think about it. People mess this up, okay? You have to rise out of bed before you can run, can't you? You have to stand up before you can actually run. So you always have to go up or down before you can go left or right. And when you rise, if you're looking at a coordinate plane, when you go up or down, what axis is that? The y. So y is always on top of the x every single time, okay? So when we think of slope, slope again is my m. It is the change in y over the change in x. And that triangle thing is kind of like a 3-dimensional a little bit. I can't draw that, but that means change in. So change in y over the change in x, because we have to rise before we fall. No, we have to rise before we run. You have to stand up before you can run. You might look silly if you're still sitting down or laying down before you can and trying to run, right? All right, so change in. What does change in mean? If I have 3 and 2, what is the change from 3 to 2? 1. So what did you do with those numbers? Subtract them. So you subtract the y values over the subtraction of your x values. Now, they always say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It could be y1 minus y2. Okay, the only thing, if you do y1 minus y2, what do you have to do in the denominator? The same thing. You have to do x1 minus x2. That's it. Okay, now let's think about these. If I have some graphs here, Okay, I have 4 different graphs. I'm not going to ask you what the slope is, but can you describe your slope? So if I read my graph from left to right, am I going up the roller coaster or am I going down the roller coaster? So let's look at this first one. Am I going up my roller coaster or down the roller coaster? I'm going up. Reading from left to right, I am going up. And if I'm going up, what type of slope do you think you're going to have? You're going to have a positive slope. Positive slope, positive end. Now, looking at the second graph, reading left to right, am I going up or down my roller coaster? I'm going down, so that would be a negative slope. Now, one thing with negative slope, guys, it doesn't matter where you have the negative. You could have it in the numerator. So if it's like -1/2, you could have it in the denominator, 1/-2. You could have it in the center as -1/2. What can't you have though? Can I have a negative and a negative? Negative in the numerator, negative in my denominator. No, why not? Because it makes a positive, okay? So in negatives, there's one negative, and it doesn't matter where it's located, okay? All right, now let's look at a horizontal line. So this is like y equals something, right? Y equals, I think this is 4, right? Y equals 4. Okay, if I look at a horizontal line, is a horizontal line a function? Yeah, it doesn't cross the x-axis, does it? Or it doesn't, it passes that vertical line test. The x values never repeat, right? So guess what? It's going to have a slope. The slope of a horizontal line is always 0. Is always 0. Okay, it could be like 0/3. It could be 0/-2. Because 0 divided by anything is always 0. Okay, a horizontal line is always 0. I like to look at it. I have this horizontal line here. I like to make a V off the side, which makes that what? I go from left to right, and then I make a Z for 0. 0. All right, a vertical line. Okay, so looking at this one, we have a vertical line here. Is this a function? So this is like x equals -4. Is this a function? Is a vertical line a function? No, because every x value repeats. So if it's not a function, can it have a slope? No. So we either say no slope or undefined, exactly. No slope or undefined. Now, if it's a paper pencil thing, if you write no slope, that's fine. That's an ED, guys. I don't know what's working, okay? Undefined. If it's looking at like on big ideas, it's usually always undefined, okay? And then what I do with here, I just make an N for no slope. So vertical lines have no slope. Now, when you look at slope, a rise over run, what can't you ever divide by? 0. So this would be like 3/0. Can we divide by 0? No. So that's why it's undefined or no slope, because you can never, ever, ever divide by 0. Okay. All right, example 1, we're going to describe the slope. So describing the slope tells me, is it positive? Is it going to be negative? Is it 0? Or is it no slope? Then we're going to find the slope. Now, the nice thing from a graph, okay, the nice thing from a graph is you can just count the rise over run only if your tallies are going by ones, okay? If you're not going by ones, we will always use the formula, okay? So first off, looking at example 1, okay, let's go ahead and describe my slope. Am I going up or down my roller coaster? Going down, so this one will be a negative slope. Okay, so now when we actually find the slope, we're going to put a negative. It could be in the top, it could be in the bottom, or right in the center. Can it be in both spots? No. Okay. Now, let's look at our tallies. Is each one of these going by 1? Is each one of these going by 1? I would think so, right? Because if the second one is 2, wouldn't that first one be 1? So I can just go ahead and count rise over run, okay? Now, to be able to do that, we need to have 2 points. And do they have 2 points on number 1? Yeah. So we have 2 points. So I want to know from the bottom point to the top point, how much do I rise and how much do I run? Okay. Now, again, if I just stand in one spot, when I go to count my rise over run, I cannot start counting until I make a step. If I just am standing here, I can't start with 1, can I? And then my first step be 2. You always have to count after you take a step. So from here, how much do I rise? 2. So my numerator is going to be 2. And then how much do I run? So again, I got to jump. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have a negative 2/5. And again, it doesn't matter where the negative is. I just need to have 1. Yes. So you went down and then to the right. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Yeah. I don't know why I always go from top to bottom. So yes. Yeah. So someone asked, is it okay if I would have went down and then over to the right? Yes. Okay. It doesn't matter in that sense. Okay. So you can either go up or you can go down. All right. All right. Looking at number 2. Describe it. Am I going up or down my roller coaster? I'm going up it. So it's going to be positive. Okay. Huh? All right. Now, are my tallies going by 1s? Yes. So this is good. So we can go ahead and just count our rise over run. So I'm going to do M equals, it's positive, so I don't need to put anything. So I'm going to make my triangle. So from the bottom point to the top point. Okay. How much do I rise? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I rose 4. And how much do I run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And now, one other thing you need to do. Can I simplify 4 over 6? Yes. And what does 4 over 6 simplify to? 2/3. And there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So looking at this, I use the points that they gave me. But if you notice right here, they do have this point here of 0, 1. So I could have gone up just 2 and to the right 3 and gotten 2/3. Yep. All right, looking at 3, do we have a positive or a negative slope? We have a positive in because we're going up the roller coaster. Now, for this one, wow, I totally spelled that wrong. Positive. Okay, can I just count the rise over run? No, because each one of these is going by what? 2s. So I'm going to use my formula. Okay, so I'm just going to write my points. Does it matter which order I write my points? Could I write 5, 4 first and then 2, -3? Yeah, it does not matter, okay? Just know I'm going to go ahead and just label X1, Y1, and then X2, Y2. And again, it doesn't matter. You could have had 5 4 as your 1s and then 2 -3 as your 2s. It does not matter, okay? Now let's plug it into our formula. And remember, it's the change in Y. And what does the change in Y mean? I'm going to subtract the Y values, right? So I'm going to go over here. So it's Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. All right. I always put what I plug in parentheses so we don't lose negative signs. Okay. So what is going in my Y2? What did I label as Y2 over here? 4. Minus, what's my Y1? What is labeled as my Y1? -3. X2, 5, and X1, 2. And now we simplify the numerator and the denominator. 4 minus -3, so change is, okay. Well, hold on. If you would have switched it around, okay, and I'm going to explain. You might have -7, so give me a second, okay? And then what's 5 minus 2? It's 3, so we have 7 over 3. Now, if you would have switched these and these were my x1, y1s, these are my x2s, y2s, you're going to get a -7 over a -3. But two negatives always make a positive. So that's why it doesn't matter which one you use as your x1s or your x2s, okay? Just as long as you keep it consistent, all right? It's just going to change where your negatives are. That's all, okay?
Miss Cochran?
Yes.
So why did we do it like with the x1, y1 like that instead of just like the normal m equals?
Okay, because if you look at the graph, you see how each one of those tallies is not going up by 1?
Can you scroll up? Because I don't have my notes today.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
And no, and my computer's weird, so scrolling up makes it harder for some reason. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if you look at these tally marks here by the graphs, they're not going up by 1s, right? So it's not easy to count just going, well, this is 1, this is 2. No, actually, that's going by 2, by 4, by 6. So with that, that's why I use the formula, because these aren't easy just counting up by 1s.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions? All right, so let's keep going. So now we have, maybe, here we go. Now we have tables. Again, a table is nice to be used, okay? Remember, do we know how to tell things are linear versus nonlinear? Okay, remember the x's have to increase by the same and the y's have to increase by the same, right? Okay, now if it tells us it's a line, do we have to see if it's linear or nonlinear? No, because it says the points represented by each table lie on a line. So if I graph these, it's going to be a line, right? Put it away. Okay. Now, how do we find the slope? Do we know how to find slope? Bless you. Bless you. We do. We know it's going to be the change in y over the change in x. Well, if we have a table, don't we have coordinates? Yeah. If we look at this table in part A, how many points do I have? I have 4 points. I have 420, I have 714, I have 10.8, and I have 13.2. But to find the slope, I only need how many points? 2. So can you pick any 2 of those points? Yeah, which 2 do you guys want to choose? All right, I'm just going to choose the first 2. Is that okay? So I'm going to make the first point x1, y1, and then the second point my x2, y2. And now can we plug this in? Yeah. What did I label as my y2? 14. Minus, what did I label as my y1? 20. Over, what did I label as my x2? 7. Minus, what's my x1? 4. And now can we do the math? And I forgot to put these in parentheses, sorry. 14 minus 20? -6. 7 minus 4? 3. And what's -6 over 3 simplified to? -2 over 1. And it's okay if you put -2. It's okay if you leave it as -2 over 1. Right. What do you notice about B? The y's are the same. So will we still have a slope? Yeah, because it's still a function, right? So when we go to subtract, so pick 2 points, any 2 points, which ones? I'm going to do 3, 2, that sounds good, and 1, 2. Why didn't I choose the first one? Because it's negative. I don't like negatives, okay? So again, let's label these. This one will be my y1, my y2, x1, and x2. All right, let's plug it in. What's my y2? 2, minus my y1, 2, over what's my x2? Minus my x1. What is 2 minus 2? 0. And 3 minus 1? 2. And what's 0 over anything? 0. So the slope of this is 0. So anytime your y values are always the same, my slope will be 0. It's a horizontal line, right? It's a horizontal line. All right, go ahead and find C for me. Go ahead and find C, everyone. Because what do you notice about that, though? All the x's are the same, right? So is this a function? No. And if it's not a function, do we have a slope? No. So did I even need to do anything on this one? No. But if you did, where would the 0 locate? Where would the 0 be? In the denominator. And can we divide by 0? No. Nope. All right, any questions with slope? Do you guys feel better with it from last year to this year? A little bit? Good. All right, slope-intercept form. Who can tell me what slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Huh? Nah, we got this. Nothing. All right, what's m represent? Everyone knows? Slope. We just figured that out. So the coefficient of x is my slope. What's my b? Does anyone remember what b is? Y-intercept, yeah. The y-intercept. And where does the y-intercept go? On the y-axis, which is the vertical axis, right? Everyone wants to always put that on the x-axis. It's the vertical one, the up and down one, okay? All right. So if I have an equation in slope-intercept form, could you guys tell me what my m and my b are? Now, m is slope. Slope is a number. Is it a letter? No. So do you put the x with my slope, Will? No, thank you. All right. So y equals 3x minus 4. Are we in slope-intercept form? So what's my slope? What's my m? So if I have y equals mx plus b, what's my m? 3. What's my y-intercept? Negative 4. Why is it negative? Because it's a minus sign. Okay. So if you want to put that as a coordinate, isn't that 0, negative 4? Yeah, because didn't we learn when we have a y-intercept, x is always 0, gets rid of it? Yeah. All right, let's look at b here. Is that in the form of y equals mx plus b? Yeah, kind of. What's missing? The x, right? Isn't x missing? And if x is missing, what kind of line do we have? That's the slope, yeah. What kind of line do we have, though, if x is missing? A horizontal line. So what's the slope of a horizontal line? 0. Also, what would eliminate x? What times x is 0? 0, right? And then what's my y-intercept? 6.5. If you wanted to put it as a coordinate, it would be 0, comma 6.5. Ooh. What's wrong with C? It is not in slope-intercept form, is it? But can we rewrite this as y equals? Yeah, we know how to do that, guys. So let's solve for y. How do I take a negative 5x to the other side? Add it. So what's negative 5x plus 5x? Cancels, and I'm left with negative y. Can I add negative 2 and 5x? No, why not? They're not like terms, right? So can I rewrite this as negative 2 plus 5x? that okay? Or could I write that as 5x minus 2? Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. Okay, now how do I get rid of the coefficient of -1? Divide, and I make sure I divide everything. So y equals, what's a -2 divided by -1? +2. And what's a positive 5x divided by -1? -5x. Okay, so if I would have divided this side by -1, I would have had a -5x plus 2, right? All right, now are we in y equals mx plus b form? Yes, what's my slope? What's with x? -5. And what's my y-intercept? 2, or 0, 2. Maybe it just worked not too long ago. All right. All right. All right, so go ahead and do E first. Go ahead and do E. Do E. So what would be my first step to solve for 4y? How would I move that 3x to the other side? I would subtract it, right? So 3x minus 3x cancels, and I'm left with a positive 4y. And can I subtract -12 and -3x? No, so we leave it as -12 minus 3x. Now, how would I get rid of that 4? Divide by 4, and I make sure I divide everything. So that cancels. I'm left with y. What's a -12 divided by 4? -3. And can I divide -3/4 x? No, so we leave it as -3 over 4 x. Good. All right. Now, what is my slope? My slope is always with the x. So what is with the x? -3 over 4. And what's my y-intercept? It's always the constant. -3. Okay. All right, any questions so far? All right, D. What number is in front of x real quick? 1. You did y. Okay, so we're going to put a 1 there. Keep a 1 there. All right, so how would I solve for this 4y? How would I take that 1x to the other side? I would subtract it, right? Yeah, I'm doing D now. All right, so the 1x cancels. I'm left with 4y. What's -10 minus 1x? -10 minus 1x. Now, how do I get rid of that 4? Divide it and make sure I divide everything. All right, so we get y equals, can I divide -10 and 4? No, but can I simplify it? Yes. What is -10/4 simplify to? -5 over 2, perfect. Now, can I divide -1 by 4? No, so we leave it as -1 over 4x. So what is my slope? What is with x? -1/4. And what is my y-intercept? -5 over 2. All right. Any questions with this so far? Right. Now, do you understand why we learned how to solve with different variables, with multiple variables? Yeah. Great. There goes my work. I don't know where it's going. All right. So, graphing now. You guys like to graph? No? No. The nice thing about, honestly, with this, if you're in slope-intercept form, can you guys identify my slope and my y-intercept? Yeah. So just like what we did, you're going to tell me what my slope and my y-intercept are. Now, if we're in standard form, do I have to put it into slope-intercept form? No, I can find my x-intercept, I can find my y-intercept, right? Sometimes you might get fractions though. That's why a lot of times they put it into slope-intercept form. But it's okay. Now, if I have slope, what does slope mean again? Rise over run, but what else? It actually means the steepness of my line. Is it an actual coordinate? No. So can I graph my slope as a point? No. What's a y-intercept? Is a point on the line, right? It's where the line crosses the y-axis. So can I graph the y-intercept first? Yeah. That says first. So we graph the y-intercept first because that is a point directly on the y-axis. Okay. Then from that point, from the y-intercept, can we use our slope? And how do we calculate slope? Rise over run. So from that point, can I go up and can I go to the right or to the left? Yes. Now, remember, rise can either go up or down. So if my rise is positive, I'm going to go up. If my rise is negative, I'm going to go down. Then run means I go left or right. If I go left, that means it's negative. And if I go right, it means it's positive. Okay. All right. So example 1 here. Are we in slope-intercept form? Yes, we are. Okay. And here we go again. All right. All right, so we're in slope-intercept form. So we're going to identify my slope. What is my slope? 4. And what is my y-intercept, my b? -4. So again, I always graph this first on what axis? The y-axis. So I'm going to go to the y-axis and go to -4 and put a point. Okay. Now, from there, I'm going to use my slope. Guys, phone should be away right now. And my slope is rise over run. Now, if you notice, if it's just 4, do I have a run? No, but I could put 1 underneath, right? Because isn't 4 over 1 still 4? Yeah. Okay. Now, my rise is positive. So which direction will I go? My rise is positive, so I'm going to go up 4 units. And my run is positive, so I'm going to go to the right 1. So from -4, can you guys count up 4? Where does that put me when I go up 4? 0, and then I'm going to go right 1. Can I do it again? Yep. So go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 1. Now I have 3 points. Can I draw my line with arrows? And B, go ahead and state my slope and my y-intercept for me. Isn't that there? They give you an equation, don't they? So they give you an equation. Can you graph it? We might do that on next week, though. right, so what did you guys say my slope was in this one? 1/2. And what's my y-intercept? 2. Okay, so where am I going to graph first? The 2, and that goes on what axis again? The y. So on my y, I put a point at 2. Now, my slope, rise over run. My rise is a positive, right? So that means I am going to go up 1. And don't forget. And then I'm going to go to the right 2. So from this point, I go up 1, right 2, and put a point. Up 1, right 2. And draw my line. Okay. Now, can anyone switch direction for that for me? Chloe? I could go down 1 and left 2. Why? Because down means what? -1. Left means -2. And isn't 2 negatives equal to a positive? Yeah, so if you run out of room in your graph, if you switch the signs of both the top and the bottom, it will still be in line with your graph every single time, okay? All right, now in C, technically I probably, since that's in standard form, I probably would find my slope-intercept form, or excuse me, I'd find my standard form, find my x-intercept, my y-intercept. But since we're practicing slope-intercept, I'm gonna do it that way. But no, if this is a test, I'd be okay if you use the intercepts, okay? So if I'm solving for y, how would I take 2x to the other side? I would subtract it. So I have y equals, what's 2 minus 2x? 2 minus 2x, okay? Now, from here, what is my slope? What is the number with the x? -2. Always have the negative, right? And then what's my y-intercept? It is a +2. So I'm going to graph my +2 first. On what axis? Y. All right. Now, my slope, -2 over what? 1. Always put it over 1 if there's nothing there. So my rise is a -2. So what does that mean? I'm going to go down 2, rise, up or down, right? Place it left. And then my run is a +1. So am I going to go left or right? I'm going to go to the right. Okay. So from 2, I'm going to go down 2, right 1. So down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. And draw my line. Now, could I reverse that if you wanted to? Instead of going down, I could go up 2. And if I change the down 2 to up 2, I have to change the right 1 to left 1. Okay? So that would have been a +2 over a -1. Is that the same? Yes. Okay. All right. Any questions with that so far? No. All right. Let's go ahead and do E. Go down to do E. It works. Huh? Yeah. All right. Let's look at E. Are you guys okay that I skipped the other one? Yeah. Okay. It was subtraction. All right. So what number is in front of X again? 1. So put a 1 there. Okay. So how would I move 1x to the other side? Subtract it. So 1x minus 1x is canceled. So we have 2y equals 6 minus 1x, right? Now, how do I get rid of that 2? Divide, and I make sure I divide everything, right? So we have y equals, what's 6 divided by 2? 3. And can I divide -1 by 2? No, so we leave it as -1 over 2. All right, now are we in slope-intercept form? Yep. What is my slope? What is with the x? Negative over 1 over 2. Where do you want to put the negative? Do you want to put it with the 1 or the 2? The 1. Does it matter? No. Okay. And then what is my y-intercept? 3. So what do I graph first? Y-intercept. So I go to the y-axis and put a point at 3. Okay. Now let's look at my rise. My rise is a -1. So which direction will I go? My rise is negative, so I'm going to go down. My run is positive, so I'm going to go to the right. So down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. If I wanted to switch it, what could I have done? I could have done up 1 and to the left 2. Yep. That's an up and that's a left. Okay. Any questions? How do you guys feel with this? Not too bad. So. Okay. Is it the converting? Oh, okay. You're like, So I wasn't sure if you were confused or you just like, you don't like it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead and do F. Do F, and then we'll be done for the day. And we'll do the story problems the first thing on, Great. First thing we get back. Doesn't. Well, you weren't here on Wednesday. That would be 2.
True. It's still like just the vibe of today doesn't feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because of the football game.
After today, we have 12 days and then Thanksgiving break. 12 school days.
It changes the whole.
12 school days. You have 5 days next week, 5 days the following week, and then 2 days. Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off.
When you go to school.
Hmm.
I say you play it in the school.
Yeah. All right, so how do I move 2x to the other side? Subtract it, yeah. That's a 2. All right, so we have -3y equals -6x, or sorry, -6 minus what? 2x. Maybe if I'll erase it. It says -2x, just so you guys know. -2x. All right, now how do I get rid of that -3? Divide by -3 to everything. So that cancels y. What's a -6 divided by -3? +2. What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. So I'm going to put a plus sign. Is that okay? Now, would it be okay if I had a negative over a negative? When you go to graph, yes. Okay. And then can I divide 2 by 3? No. So we leave it as 2 over 3. So what's my slope? 2 over 3. And what's my y-intercept? 2. So what do I graph first? The 2. So I'm going to go up to 2. Now my rise is a +2. So which direction am I going to go? Up 2. And I have a +3. So that's going to go to the right. So up 2, right 3. Up 2, right 3. Now, if I didn't have room, how could I switch that? Could have gone down 2 and to the left 3. All right. Any questions? No. All right. Your homework online is 3 point, what are we on, 5? Okay. Again, first thing on Tuesday next week, we will do these 2 story problems. So make sure you bring them. Okay. Okay, make sure you bring these notes, okay? And then we have 3.7 to learn on Tuesday. Next Friday, we review, and then your test will be the following Tuesday, okay?